Today's noisy digital-first world is a challenging one for business owners. How do you get more people to know you, trust you, and to respect your brand? How do you stay front of mind with your target audience, as well as talked about in a positive way in the marketplace? The answer is public relations, but not as you know it. Get ready to unlock the potential of your business through the power of PR, content, and digital communications. Get ready to become your own PR machine.
G'day and welcome back to the Become Your Own PR Machine podcast. My name is Trevor Young, and today's episode we're going to be looking at human content and taking your brand to the next level. Now, in the content game, and when I say in the content game, whether you're a marketer, a PR person, or you're a business owner and you're creating content to support your brand and your business, when we're focusing on our content, we look very much at the customers' challenges and pain points, and rightly so, because being useful and helpful and relevant for our audience is a very good thing, but it is not the only thing. This type of content, I call it utility content. It provides utility, it's helpful, it's useful, is a really great place to start. But I think it's a very one-dimensional view of how entrepreneurs can leverage the power of content to grow their business. Now, again, if you've read any content marketing how-to guides or articles or books or whatever, usually there is a big focus around the audience and those pain points and challenges, and what are their information gaps that you might be able to address through the provision of timely and relevant information. Again, it's not wrong, but there's definitely a lot more to content marketing. Now, I come from a PR background, and therefore I'm going to look at content through a PR lens. Indeed, I wrote a full book about it. It's called Content Marketing for PR, which is all about this, looking at content through the lens of public relations. It's not 110% different than what you might hear out there, but I really do break it down and give a more three-dimensional view of how we can mix things up with our content. In episode 8 of this podcast, I introduced what I call my content buckets model. And the title of that one was Use This Framework to Keep Your Content Efforts Fresh and Interesting. So my content buckets model. This was a model or a framework that I've been refining over many, many years, and it's really proven to be an invaluable tool for me to help my clients when I'm coaching and consulting to get their head around content in a deeper way. And the way I do it is by categorizing the different types of business content. So by way of background, the 4 content buckets are utility content, which I've just mentioned, addressing people's challenges, needs, pain points, relevant to our expertise, and that's content that is very useful and helpful. Then leadership content, that's thought-provoking content, that's bigger picture themes, that's around inspiring people, challenging the way they might think about a particular topic or an issue, and it's about moving people with your ideas. There's human content, and that's taking people behind the public face of your business or organisation, or if you're an individual, you're a personal brand, to showing your more personal side of your professional life. And also around telling other people's stories, employees, partners, etc. And then there's branded content, which is more your chest-beating content, I guess. You've got award wins, company news, product launches, new hires, plus anything with a heavy promotional CTA, call to action. So book here, download this, register for this event, etc., etc. Often when I talk about the 4 content buckets, I will emphasize the importance of balancing these 4 types of contents or these 4 buckets of content, as this helps keep things fresh and interesting for not just audiences, but yourself as well. While at the same time maintaining a focus on promoting your insights and ideas and expertise and your business brand generally. Also in that episode, number 8, where I did look at the 4 buckets, I also did explain that the promotional branded content should ideally make up between 10 and 20% of total output, with a mix of useful information, thought-provoking ideas, personal stories, making up the rest. So just because I've got promotional branded content in there doesn't mean that's all you do. It should be the smallest probably percentage of the 4 buckets. Now, as I already mentioned, many businesses create utility content. That's not news, and it's a good place to start. Is a good reason for doing that, because no one ever went wrong being useful and helpful. But if we look at using this content buckets model as a guide, I see there are 2 areas that ambitious solopreneurs and owners of fast-growth businesses can leverage today in order to get the edge on their competitors. So there's leadership content. I've covered that leadership content in the last episode of this podcast. That was episode number 9. The title of that was How Leadership Content Can Help Differentiate Your Brand in the Marketplace. Just recapping, the 2 areas that I think that ambitious entrepreneurs should be looking at is leadership content and human content. Now, leadership content, just give me 5 seconds to give a quick overview of that. Leadership content has the power to not only differentiate your brand in the marketplace, which is really important and really hard to do today, but also significantly build your visibility, reputation, and trust. Now, this is the sort of content that people share and talk about. Exponents of this type of content tend to grow their audiences, probably more so than anyone who's just focused on the utility content. Not all the time, but often. I think it's best when it's put through the lens of a PR thinking, because I think thought leadership really is falls under a PR remit when done properly. And so if you want to think about who does leadership content well, think of some high-profile people like Seth Godin, of course. I think he's the poster child of it. Chris Do from The Future, Futur. Wes Kao, she was the co-founder of Maven.com. She's got a great article called Spiky Point of View, which is very much around having a spiky point of view, which is also very critical or underpins leadership content. Joanna Penn from The Creative Pen. I speak about Joanna a lot. She is very much a leading thinker when it comes to self-publishing, being an author, entrepreneur, and she's right up to date with the technology of all that, particularly around AI. And there's a guy called David Hieatt, H-I-E-A-T-T. He runs the Do Lectures and also runs a clothing company out of Wales called Hieatt, H-I-U-T, Hieatt Denim. He's great on LinkedIn and, telling stories and pushing our buttons when it comes to running a business. And really, some of his stuff's really gets you thinking. So that's really good leadership content. Now, a lot of the content that Seth, Chris, Joanna, Wes, David, it's thought-provoking. They have the ability to maybe change the way we think through their ideas and their insights and their experiences. So I covered leadership content on this podcast in the last episode number 9. Now, the second big opportunity, so remember we had the 4 buckets: utility, leadership, human, and branded content. So utility, we've ticked that off. Leadership, we've just ticked that off now. This episode, I really want to dive deep into human content, because that's where I see a massive opportunity for brands, again, business brands, personal brands, to change perceptions of themselves, to show people another side of themselves, to differentiate their brand in the marketplace, which is really, really important. Human content basically is about injecting humanity into what you publish online with a view to building trust and relatability with your audience. Now, this has always been important. Let's face it, being relatable and accessible and building trust with an audience has always been important, but it's especially the case now since the advent of social media. And particularly now, we have an ever-increasing proliferation of AI. and this is not going away. So as we get more AI generated content, well, this is why it's going to be more important than ever to show your face and, to be human, because people do business with people, not logos. So let's see your people. Okay, so if human content is about injecting humanity into what we publish online, how does that work? Personally, I think this is something that we should all strive to do across all the content we create. But the reality is it can sometimes be a little difficult to do, if not always practical. So if we look at producing a white paper, for example, on a really serious, detailed topic, it's probably best to focus on making it the best you possibly can. Although there's a part of me that will argue there are ways and means of injecting humanity into most content, even a little bit, even into these serious topics, even if it's, using video to show the experts who are writing the content and get them to explain it more. So, I'm very cognizant there's sometimes when it needs to be a little dry if it's technical or it's a serious topic. But there's another part of me that says, yeah, but how can we just inject a little bit more humanity into that content? So this is why I choose to focus on human content as its own category, because if we look at it as its own category and a business entrepreneur then says, well, I'm doing white papers and stuff, but, I'm struggling to humanize that content. If we look at it as its own content category, it gives us the opportunity to rethink and reframe how we would approach it. And therefore we put some effort into thinking that, and, it becomes part of hopefully our content creation DNA. So hopefully this will get some attention with a few of you who like this concept and maybe go out and experiment a little bit, because I think the human content side of things is a little bit experimental as well. So I also want to highlight the fact that this is not an exact science, but I can assure you that throwing some human content into the mix will really help differentiate your brand in the marketplace, because no one can replicate you and the people who work for your business if you are employing people. And the key thing is, and I've used the word before, but it helps you make you more relatable with your clients and your customers and the broader community in which you operate. So if you're an entrepreneur or a thought leader, i.e. a personal brand, and your business is based off the back of your profile and reputation, the more human content you produce, the better, I think, as it really ups the relatability stakes and builds greater connection and therefore hopefully trust with your audience. As a high-profile Californian trial lawyer, Mitch Jackson, once told me, all else being equal, the most human professional wins 9 times out of 10. Now, Mitch has long been a real staunch advocate for capturing in-the-moment videos and photos of his life outside the office and then publishing it on the various social channels. So what this does, and Mitch has done this over a long period of time from the early days of social media, what this does is make Mitch accessible and relatable as a person and a professional. Again, this is critical in today's social age where people do business with people they like, they trust, they respect, and nowhere is that more important than in a professional services industry. Okay, so let's break it down. Human content is all about, here's some ideas just to get you thinking. A, shining the spotlight on your team members, your partners, your collaborators and customers. Looking at how, you can use your platform, your social channels, your blog, your podcast to share the spotlight on other people and collaborate. And let's hear their stories. Telling personal stories is critical. Look inwards first. Why did you start your business in the first place? What are some hard-earned lessons you've learned along the way? It reminds me of a great blog post by Mark Schaefer, who is a true thought leader in the marketing space, and he once wrote a blog post on all the ways that he fails in life every day, and it's quite vulnerable. And I think a lot of human content has that vulnerability because that's what we gravitate to. Number C is publishing behind the scenes photos or videos. Individuals in particular people, again, if you're the personal brand and you are the business, you can do this a lot more effectively, potentially, than those in running large corporations. But the same thinking applies whether you're a solopreneur or you're running a growing business and employing people. Just sharing photos and videos on social media that provide glimpses of what goes on behind the scenes of your professional life or your business. For example, here's some examples. A pic of you grappling with the construction of an IKEA bookcase to be filled with books and used as a backdrop for your Zoom calls. A photo of the view out of the window from your home office. A real-time video of the audience at the event where you're about to deliver a presentation. Maybe some happy snaps from interstate or international business trips that you go on. Steve Vallis, who's the founder of Blockchain APAC, he's fantastic at doing this because he's always traveling. He's always out there generating conversation with many, many stakeholders in the blockchain arena. And he's forever on social media, on LinkedIn, showing himself being out and about. And the engagement on those posts is fantastic. Now, Steve is also a true thought leader in his space, and he does publish posts that are very thought-provoking and forward-thinking, but he balances that up with these human content, this happy snaps of where he is, and it certainly sends a lot of messages to the person who is looking at them, saying, well, geez, he's out and about and doing stuff, and he's meeting with these people and all of that, and it's not done in a chest-beating way. That's the key. So I advise you to go and check out Steve Vallis, Vallas, who is the founder and CEO of Blockchain APAC, and check out some of his posts. The whole thing is about bringing people along for the journey. And one example I love how Becky O'Kell and Hugh Thomas, they're the founders of Painter Jacket. If you want to check it out, it's Painter Jacket, Paynter, how they go about their business. And they really get the power of human content. Now, Becky and Hugh, what they do is they take iconic jacket styles and then remake them using the best materials that they can find. And I'll just give you a bit of a grab from their website so you can get a bit of a feel for what they do and how their philosophy and how they go about it. And then I'll just give you a couple of examples. This is easy to see if you can watch their videos, but I'll explain. I'll try and explain in detail what they do, so you can get a feel for how they approach their human content. So this is from their website. All of our jackets are made to order in limited edition batches, just 4 times a year. It's our way of making sure we create no waste. Each jacket we make is designed by us in East London before it gets made by a small family-run factory in northern Portugal. Each one is hand-numbered in the order it's sold. Illustrated labels on the inside tell the story of that batch, plus details that most brands would cut out. Now, this is me talking. This approach, what I'd call an artisan approach to business, extends through to their content and communications efforts as well, which I think are very human. And again, the word I'm going to use is relatable. So some examples of that, when they released one batch, and remember, again, they do limited quantities of these jackets that they sell, and they now starting to sell shirts and other things as well. People have to go live to pre-order. And so what they did was that they recorded and shared a behind-the-scenes video. Now, this is not just any behind-the-scenes video. This was set up in their living room, but also they had the live website analytics too. So as people came online to put in their orders, and it was pretty raw and uncut, but it was very, very real. And that's what we gravitate to. Becky and Hugh get this. A couple of things that they do is, when they do a photo shoot of their products, they do a behind the scenes of the product photo shoots, which I really like. And the other thing is, and it was just today, I subscribed to their newsletter, and they published a story naming their company. How did they come up with the name Painter Jacket? And it's actually named after a photographer they admire. So this sort of human personal story is great. But just going back to behind the scenes, because a lot of these jackets, they're made to order. There's not many of them. They're limited edition. And, the way they go about their business is different than fast fashion. They actually do take people behind the scenes of the manufacturing process. And this way customers can see their jacket being made each step along the way. So I love this. Lifting the lid, taking people behind the velvet rope, behind the curtain, behind the public face of the brand and the business, however you choose to do it. It's a very, very, very powerful content format. You could say a tool, a way to get people to know you and trust you more. Instagram is a really great channel through which to publish human content. It really lends itself, I guess, to people-orientated posts, behind the scenes, photos and videos, etc. Someone who does this really well is a guy called Ted Rubin. He's a professional speaker and a chief marketing officer. If you look at Ted Rubin's Instagram account, there's some great examples of him being out and about. But it's not just for, some people do it really well on Twitter, some do it really great on LinkedIn. For example, Joyce Ong, who's the founder of Tax Nuggets Academy. This is a professional training platform for accountants. She is terrific at giving her growing audience a glimpse behind the velvet rope of her venture capital-backed business. And so it is a startup, but it's really gathering pace. She's raised some funds and she's always letting us in on the behind-the-scenes stories and where she is and what she's doing. And she even shares how the business is going from a financial point of view. So that radical transparency is really good. And again, it comes with a shot of humanity that most companies, most businesses, most entrepreneurs do not do. So therefore, if you do it, you're going to stand out as well. And the right people will gravitate to that. So again, we look at social media is great, but you can do it obviously on in your YouTube videos. If you've written an article and it's on a contentious topic, let's do a video of, the author explaining it and unpacking and adding some more value and ideas and insights and stories on a YouTube video, and then embed that in the actual article. That's a really good way of doing it as well. And I think podcasting again is great, because if you're interviewing others and other experts and shining the spotlight on other people and telling their stories, again, this is great human content. Again, we gravitate to people's stories, and we like seeing what's behind the public face of a company. I also include under the human content banner anything that features your customers and clients, staff or partners. Many businesses will interview customers for testimonials, but then I think, why stop there? Why not go much deeper and shine the spotlight on them, on your customers and others in your community, and use your platform to tell their stories? I always say that if, I've got clients, I say, we've just got this great testimonial, we're going to do this great testimonial from a client, and they're a long-time client, and we're going to go down and shoot them on video. I say, fantastic, that's great. Get the testimonial first, get that out of the road, and then go deep into their story, because the testimonial is important and it works by itself. And of course, it's sort of bottom of the funnel and validation for other prospects and potential clients. But the story is the thing that's really going to bring it to life. So don't necessarily mix up the testimonial and their story. Get the testimonial, get it, that really pumps your tires, but then them telling their story, what's their business like, if it's a B2B sort of thing, what do they do, and give them a chance to shine, but also open the door for them to talk about the problem that they had and how your product or service did the job for them, and hence they're happy to tell the world about it. Very, very, very powerful. Very powerful. There's a number of companies that do this quite well. REI Co-op is a US outdoor gear company. I haven't looked at their website for a while, but they had these, they called it Gear I Hold Dear series, and it's a page on its website where just their stories that are highlighted, written by members, and on videos written by members about their favourite item of outdoor gear. So again, it's an emotional thing, shining. It's human, it's their story. And Ernie Ball Music Man, it's an instruments maker. They actively promote the musicians who use its products. So I love that when a company's big enough and they've got a lot of passionate customers who let's tell their stories. And And, because if people are interested in music or outdoor, they're going to be interested in these sorts of stories, which is perfect for the brand. They don't need to beat their chest. They just need to be the vessel, the vehicle, to promote these other people's, their customers' stories. Behind the scenes, I think, is something that is a little bit hard for businesses, given that, they want to keep everything behind the four walls and buttoned up, and they don't want to show the world. But that was pre-social media, and, having been in and around social media and Twitter and all of that from the very early days, and to see when the leading companies or the first movers, they were doing it. They were using these tools and these channels to show a little bit of themselves. And now there's no shortage of business entrepreneurs who are taking people along for the journey. But, when I look at human content, I think it does provide that opportunity for people to go behind the velvet rope of your business. And this helps build engagement and trust with not just your customers, but also maybe your partners and stakeholders as well. And the reason for this is because we like dealing with real people, not faceless businesses. We don't want to deal with a faceless business or organisation. We want to deal with its people. So let's see them. Featuring your people in your content will help humanise your brand and make it more relatable to the public. I do not get why so many companies, so many businesses still just use stock photos. Show your real people. It's just makes sense. Let me tell you another example. This one's a client of mine, and it's a really great example, a real-life example, it has to be a real-life example, of a company that takes people behind the scenes. It's called the Physio Co. It's one of Australia's biggest physio networks, mobile physio networks, that specialises just in working with seniors, Aussie seniors. And the Physio Co, or TPC as it's known, what they do is they produce an annual culture book, and this gives readers a grasp of what makes the company tick. Now, they do it for their staff. They've got quite a large company, so for their staff and prospective employees. But it's also public. Anyone can go and get it. And so if you want to see how that company ticks and all things around it, around their culture and the people in it and all of that, it's all out there. It's in a free downloadable culture book that you can get from their website. So again, why is this important? Because people do business with people, not logos. And so the more we can humanize our business through our content, the better. Now, as I said right from the outset, if we can inject some humanity into a lot of the content we do, and we just do it as a matter of course, and it becomes part of our DNA, that's really good. But I also understand that might take a fair bit of time to put into practice, particularly if you're a bigger organisation. Much easier if you're smaller. But if you look at it, okay, we want to do our utility content, which we're good at doing. We want to start pushing into leadership content and maybe, our internal experts and thought leaders internally, and the CEO, we might give them the role of doing that. We're going to do some branded content because we need some calls to action for people to download our stuff and subscribe to our newsletter and buy this new product or whatever it is. We're going to do that. But make sure that there's a block of human content, and I'm not going to give you a percentage. I don't think it needs to be massive. If you're going to do some really great human content and some selfies and show people behind the scenes and some fun stories and all that, it doesn't need to be a big proportion. In fact, it probably shouldn't be a big proportion of your content. Now, I know that when you do that sort of stuff, it often goes really, really well on likes of LinkedIn, and I've done that with clients, and we've seen how they get a real big bump when they do that more human content. But just because it works doesn't mean you want to do that all the time. Using it sparingly, using it strategically, but using it authentically and publishing that, that behind the scenes content is the way to go. And I think, for businesses and professionals who, again, if you are running the business, you're the CEO, or, you are the business and you're a solopreneur, peeling off some layers and showing a bit about yourself not in an overly showy, chest-beating way, but in a genuine and authentic way. This can be really effective in building a sense of connection with potential clients and customers. And as we always say, it's not just about clients and customers, but the people who influence them. And let's not forget your own employees and partners if you're a growing company who does employ people. So my challenge to you is, why not make human content a strategic part of your content marketing for PR efforts? My name is Trevor Young. I'd love to catch up with you on the socials. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so let's please catch up there. If you like this episode and you haven't subscribed, you just lucked upon it somewhere and you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And join the conversation online with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter, so you can catch up with me at Trevor Young there. I'm easy to find. And also, if you go to becomeyourownprmachine.com, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we can, I'll let you know when we've got new episodes of this podcast. Plus, I'm always putting out new tips and hints and insights around all things PR and how you can develop your own PR mindset and become your own PR machine. Until next episode, good luck with your projects.